Hey guys, what's going on? Back again with another Zombies video. Over on Twitter, I saw a couple days ago that it was the anniversary of the release of Tag Your Totem. First, I believe it was on PlayStation 4, then it got released a couple days later. I guess it looks like a week later on Xbox and PC. So the anniversary, technically, I guess, was the 23rd. So it made me think about all these solves that I have or ideas that I have back then. Again, it's already been like 3 years, the 3-year anniversary of the release of Tag Your Totem. And aside from knowing stuff back then, the more time goes by, the more you do research, the more you start piecing stuff together. And then you kind of start seeing how Treyarch does Easter eggs. And again, something that I've mentioned before, that it's almost like solving a cipher, where if you figure out the cipher key, then you can maybe go back and solve these old ciphers that you never knew about or never realized. It's the same thing about solving Easter eggs and even going back to Black Ops 3. And this is actually going to include Black Ops 3. A lot of Jason Blundell or Treyarch's quote unquote impossible Easter eggs, which I take it as just bigger picture outside of the game type Easter eggs. Kind of like he mentioned also, it won't be stuff in the game or code that you can kind of hack. It'll be stuff that you have to really try and piece together and figure out. So again, September 23rd was the release of Tag Your Totem. And again, I'm not going to try and go into too much detail and talk too much. I'm going to almost kind of do this like how I did the impossible Easter egg solve for Black Ops 3. Where I'm just going to kind of show it to you. If you figure it out, you can see the puzzles and you can kind of make the connections. Good for you, because there's times you can tell people, you can literally talk to people, and I know teachers and professors have to deal with it. You can literally teach a whole class, and there's still probably like 50%, maybe even 75% of the class that isn't going to have a clue what you're talking about. Maybe they're not paying attention. They still can't see the connection. And I tell people, hey, I'm just showing you some of this stuff. Go back and do your own research. Take your time. Even if it takes years and months, kind of like me, take your time and figure and research this stuff that I'm telling you. Maybe you have other ideas. Maybe you'll find other stuff. But again, I'm just going to kind of show it to you. Either you get it or you don't, unfortunately. So it all came about, and I was going to include this, or I guess I was going to make this just a Black Ops 4 Victis is still alive video. I might throw it in the title, but on the other hand, I know a lot of people moved on from zombies. People are playing Fortnite. People are playing maybe Vanguard, Warzone, Minecraft or whatever people play nowadays. But it all kind of started with the whole, and this is, like I said, this goes back years ago when Black Ops 4 came out and Tag Your Totem. I had a general idea. I'm like, they're probably still sleeping, and this is going to tie in a different lot of stuff, a different things from pop culture, so you're going to kind of see. So we're led to believe in the cutscene. I'm not going to play the cutscene for copyright reasons and all that stuff, because then that becomes a headache. So you're probably going to know the, I think it's called the Light in the Dark, or maybe it's just the Tag Your Totem intro cutscene. But anyways, we're led to believe that Victis woke up from the cryo chambers, maybe asleep, and they got out that way. A lot of red herrings, a lot of Easter eggs that Treyarch does. I know people are going to say, well, you're just using the word red herring to make it sound like you solved something, but it's Treyarch, it's not me. This is the way they do stuff. This is the way a lot of books and movies and stuff from pop culture do it, where they trick you, misdirection, have you believe one thing, but actually one other thing's happening. So again, this is something that I realized, like, back in 2019. I'm like, I have an idea or um, an assumption in a way that it's probably them thinking, making us think that they woke up, but they probably still asleep in the cryo chambers. Because if you look at Tag Your Totem, it takes place in Siberia, which is like freezing cold. So it's probably like when you're, and this has to do with Inception too, but I'm not going to include too much stuff from the Inception movie, because there's a part of the movie where I think the guy has to use the bathroom, so he's dreaming about rain. So it's the same thing. If you fall asleep without a blanket, I guess the idea is you're going to dream about being cold. So because Victis fell asleep in the cryo chambers where it's freezing cold, or they're put to sleep, whatever, they're dreaming about Siberia, which is like a cold place. And in the literal translation, it says from the Tartar. Tatar word is sleeping land. So again, that's probably like an Easter egg that, hey, this is hinting that they're still asleep, and like Dreamland, or and then Dreamland is a whole other thing with Area 51. Code name Dreamland, I think, is Area 51. You know, obviously that speaks for itself. I don't have to explain that. And that's probably why we get classified. Classified takes place at Area 51. Area 51's code name, I believe, is Dreamland. And then Siberia, obviously, it ends with Siberia, which is the sleeping land. Again, this is probably all hinting that, you know, they're still asleep. And I'm going to go into the Black Ops 3 stuff, I believe. Hopefully, I included everything. The other thing is Tag Your Totem is Day of the Dead. We all, another red herring, took it as George Romero's Day of the Dead Zombies movie. Which, funny enough, again, going back and like solving stuff, I don't think I've went back and watched Day of the Dead. I maybe should need to go back and watch Day of the Dead. Maybe it has stuff to do with this, but again, because it's on George Romero's map, and maybe it also is explaining stuff maybe back then from Call of the Dead. Maybe for some reason, um, you know, we need to go back and piece stuff together. Maybe they're giving us other Easter eggs or breadcrumbs to go back and solve stuff from Call of the Dead. I know the word Call of the Dead is from like call sheet. There's actors and stuff like that, but uh, maybe there's something else out there for Call of the Dead has a double meaning. Um, and again, Day of the Dead, we all thought, okay, it's the movie George Romero, cool Easter egg, really nice to Treyarch to do that. But Day of the Dead also is because of the Mexican, and we get it in the Nuketown loading screen. We get the Mexican Lord of the Dead, who turned out to be Cortifex. I've mentioned that before. Nothing new and crazy, but Day of the Dead is a day in Mexico coming up with a Halloween. It'd be cool if Treyarch did something for Vanguard with that and showed, hey, you know, Cortifex, Day of the Dead, stuff like that would be awesome. But because of budgets and because of the way people crap on the games, I don't think we'll ever get stuff like that. Maybe again, it's just us trying to piece stuff together. And you can see this skeleton looks like exactly like Cortifex with the stuff on his head. That's what Cortifex looks like. And Day of the Dead, I'm just going to sum it up. Again, you can kind of do this on your own. I'm not going to read everything word for word. But it does mention the Lord of the Underworld from the Nuketown loading screen, which is Micah Tekatuli or whatever. And then he has a wife who we end up seeing that in the Vanguard cutscene, one of the cutscenes. I forget who becomes his wife or is his wife. But anyways, it says, death is not to be feared. It is something to be embraced, believing that life is the dream, and only in death does someone truly become awake. Again, same thing, explaining that maybe Victis was asleep in the whole entire Black Ops 4. They never really woke up. They made us believe that they woke up. Again, I'm going to move on. You can go and research that stuff yourself and read about the Day of the Dead. Other thing, which is a cool little Easter egg, is World Dream Day is September 25th, 2 days after we got the release of Tag Your Totem. Maybe they didn't want to release it on the same exact day. Maybe that would have been too much of an Easter egg or made it too obvious, but or maybe they just couldn't get it approved. But World Dream Day is 2 days after the release of Tag Your Totem. So that's that. Again, that was Black Ops 4. I was just going to make this about Black Ops 4, but like I said, when you solve stuff, it makes you go back and look at other things a different way, and that's the whole intention. And that's why I always say the devs at Treyarch and Call of Duty are insanely smart the way they do stuff, and that's why Call of Duty is pretty much the #1 game, because of the way it tells the story, and Craig Houston is just amazing. But we get the same exact thing in Revelations intro cutscene, where we were led to believe that Maxis wakes up, but he's not really woken up. He's just still sleeping, and he's dreaming that he woke up. I know you could Google and YouTube all that stuff about dreams and waking up in your dreams or thinking you're awake. Maybe you dream that you won the lottery, but you don't really win the lottery. Then you wake up and you're really upset. Or maybe something happens terrible in your dream and you're glad that you woke up because, you know, maybe you're happy that you woke up, or something good happens and then you're upset that you woke up. So same thing, he wakes up, or we're led to believe that he woke up, but um, to be able to see the Shadow Man or become the Shadow Man, you could only see the Shadow Man in your dreams. So that's how, and I know Jason Blundell said this a bunch of times, Charka said it a bunch of times, I've even said it a bunch of times, and I know there's still going to be hate doubters out there, but the way that they do the cutscenes, it's to trick you. Like, this is the Revelations intro cutscene is probably the first map. Should have been, not should have been, but the way they do it is to trick you. This tells you how the Apothicons came to Earth, um, because Maxis fiddles around with the summoning key, or is maybe, talked into opening the summoning key and bringing the Apothicons to Earth. But it's all in a dream because the Shadow Man's there. The Shadow Man, kind of like Freddy Krueger, can only come to you in dreams. That's why, or how you should know that the entirety of Black Ops 3 is probably just a dream. Same thing with, Black Ops 4 and Black Ops 3. The only way you can come in contact with the Shadow Man is through dreams. And this goes back from an article that somebody made in 2008 about the Shadow Man, how he dreamed about a guy in the hat. This is kind of out of place, but I was going to include Total Recall because that's probably why it might be not a bad time to mention it then. This is another red herring. We're led to believe that it's about Shangri-La's on Mars, but it's basically telling you to go watch Total Recall because it's the same exact thing about how Arnold Schwarzenegger gets put to sleep, then he thinks he's woken up, but then you don't know what part of it's a dream, what part of it is him waking up. But the fact is, he never woke up in the, spoiler alert, he never woke up in the movie. He kind of died in his sleep, or is unfortunately not able to wake up. That was out of place. But back to that article, some guy wrote an article in 2008 called the Hat Man Project, which obviously we got that in Kino Turton with the Manhattan Project. It's probably a play on words, because if you split up, it's man, it's hat, and it's on. So Manhattan Project. So it's about a man wearing a hat. And again, you can kind of tell this is how they probably put that together, which I think is super awesome and cool. Again, it's the same thing about a man dreaming about a guy in a hat, or dreaming about the Shadow Man, which that is in 2008, but in the 80s or 90s, there's a Twilight Zone about the Shadow Man. Same thing, kids are sleeping, and whenever they fall asleep, they dream about the Shadow Man, and the Shadow Man's there to protect them. So in this version, I think the Shadow Man is not a bad person. He's a good person because the kid gets bullied, and the Shadow Man, I think, comes to him to protect him. And same thing, the Shadow Man is dressed with a hat and in black, and the kid thinks he's awoke, or thinks he's woken up, but it's pretty much in his dream, the Shadow Man comes to him, kind of like the original story. He could really only come to you in your dreams. Again, another piece of the puzzle is the idea for the whole, actually, funny enough, the whole entire idea of zombies comes from Trans-Siberian Orchestra, one of their songs where Samantha is sleeping, and she thinks she's woken up, but then a whole bunch of stuff happens in the house that can't really happen because it can't really happen. She dreams about stuff, and then her mom, or Samantha could be the mom, and that could be Samantha's daughter, but basically you have to watch the Zombie Chronicles cutscene and look at the Trans-Siberian Orchestra music video. I think it's Sarajevo, and it pieces up together her opening the mystery box and getting stuff out of the mystery box, and it's supposed to be Samantha, which is pretty cool. And I think that's pretty much it. But again, it just goes to show that if they wanted to, they can always bring these characters back and say, hey, anytime anybody died or anything crazy happened, it was all part of a dream. I know the original story from like Jimmy Zielinski and maybe Jesse Snyder is more about an author writing stories about these characters. But I guess it's kind of cool that they do dreams in it and stuff like that. And then, did I include it? No, I didn't include it. But this is more stuff about the Mars. And then if you look at the Nuketown loading screen, or not loading screen, but if you click on Nuketown and Black Ops 2, you see the same picture of the man on Mars. But if you, I didn't include it, which I think I goofed. But if you look at the Black Ops 3 campaign, it's all about dreams and memories and dreams and stuff like that. So something else that you said, if you want to, you're probably better off just watching the cutscenes on YouTube rather than playing it yourself. But you're gonna get a better idea if you play it yourself, because there's stuff in cutscenes that, or there's stuff that is in gameplay that might not be in the cutscenes. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it at that. I'll see you guys later.